Good morning. Today I'd like to show you a home tour of my holiday decor for this season. I don't know about you, but I love watching home tours, so I thought I'll give it a try and see what happens. So as for my decorations this year, I don't know why, but I'm feeling like I needed to keep things really super simple this year. So a lot of the decorating that I do, because normally I'm like crazy Christmas decorating lady and like every room has to have something Christmassy and I go a little bit over the top. But this year I just wanted to keep things nice and simple and just decorate like the main rooms and be done with it and enjoy like the season and not just all the decorating. So that's kind of where I'm at. So I've decorated my kitchen a little bit. My living room is mainly where I've decorated, and my dining room, and then I added a little bit by the front door and a little bit in my bedroom. So those are the areas of the house that I have to share with you today, and I hope you enjoy the tour, and if you do, make sure to subscribe and give me a thumbs up because that would be delightful. Alright, let's get on to the tour. Hi there! Today I'm going to show you my Christmas home tour, and I thought we would start outside, and look, it's snowing! Oh, I'm so excited that it's snowing. But anyways, we'll start at the front door. This is what our front door is looking like. On this side I've got a bucket full of logs, birch logs. Kind of acts as a doorstop so that when the door swings open it doesn't hit the post over here. But it's kind of pretty. Right there. And then over on the other side I have the sled that Zoe made with her friends. And then I added a little snowman light up. And then a bucket filled with greenery. And then right inside the front door, I have this wreath hanging on the front door. I love this wreath so much. I've had it for a few years. I love that it's just very super simple with the white berries on it. So that's the front door. And on the other side of the door, I have hung just a simple swag of faux greenery. I think it adds just a little touch. So that's our entryway, and now let's move upstairs and I will show you the living room and the rest of the house. Okay, let's start in the dining room. This is the dining room. Got the table, got a chair off to the side, and over here I've got a desk next to the tree. And let's start over here. So starting over on the desk, I have a wall hanging on it, and then a lamp, a candle, and a little sparkly deer. And then over on the other side I have layered a little church on top of a vintage cake plate with some bottle brush trees. And then I layered that whole thing on a doily, and then I added a little sprig of faux greenery, and I think it looks really cute. Then moving on to the corner, over on this table, I've hung a sign that I made a couple years back. And then I have a metal, I think it's a planter, you put plants in it, but I have put a little tinsel tree. And then I've placed the tinsel tree in like a soup tureen. And then I filled it with Christmas bulbs, added a little faux greenery in the background, and then next to that I put a little candle, and I think it makes a cute little display. So there's that little corner, and then moving on over here to this wall, I have a chalkboard, and over it I hung a wreath that I flocked with just a little bit of white ribbon. So that leads us to the dining room table. On the table I started with a red and white checked tablecloth, and on top of that I layered a faux fur runner, and then on top of that I layered a distress box filled with candles, a little bit of greenery, some pine cones, and some berries. And then of course I scattered a few ornaments around just to make it look a little more festive. And this is pretty much how I will set the table for our Christmas dinner. And I like to use a lot of my vintage serving pieces for special occasions like this. So there you go. And then over in the corner I just have on a plant stand a little, it's not showing up very well, here we go, a candelabra with some candles and then some reproduction mercury glass balls underneath it just to add a little bit of sparkle. So there is the dining room. And then we'll move on into the living room. Right next to the desk I have our Christmas tree with a white faux fur skirt underneath it. And then next to that I have a chair placed with a plaid blanket and this really cute moose pillow. I think he's cute. Anyways, and that this chair kind of sits in front of my hutch area. But we'll get to that in a minute. And then, oh, there's Shelby Girl. And then the rest of the living room, I've got 2 sofas and a hutch. And then a little chair over here. So we'll start here. On this corner, I've just hung like a winter scene painting. And above it, I have a little rosemary wreath with some lace on it. And then on the table beneath I just have one of those battery operated lanterns, and I added some faux branches around it, and the whole thing's sitting on a little lace runner, which I think is so adorable. And then on the chair I just have a simple red and white pillow. And then moving on into the, let's see if I can get a good angle here, to the next in front of the window. It's not going to show up very well. Above the window I just hung some greenery, faux greenery, and I have my lace white curtains. And then on the couch I have some plaid blanket or plaid pillows, and then a furry throw and another plaid pillow. In the hutch area, I really didn't do very much with. The only thing I really did was add a little nosegay of greenery with some pine cones and lace ribbon to hang on the handle. I think it looks cute. There we go. So that's how that corner's looking. And then on my table in the living room, I added a table runner with a red stripe, some greenery, and then my collection of mercury glass vases, all with little candles in it, and then some reproduction mercury glass ornaments all on like this silver tray. And I think it looks pretty, like the rustic with the sparkly. I love the look. And then I have behind that the couch, and on the wall I have a couple candle sconces, a barn door, and then on top of that I hung a wreath with some white berries and a ribbon. I got my little Mr. Deer up here. And then on the couch itself I just have a collection of red and white pillows. And then of course I've got a little Shelby girl over here who loves this spot because I draped this fur blanket over it, so that's like her favorite spot. So that is the living room. I'll give you another view here. The living room looks like this for Christmas. And over here looks like that. And there's the Christmas tree again. And then we'll move on over here to the hutch, which I kept really super simple this year. Just a lot of my white dishes, touches of black, and then I added some greenery. And then on up top, I added a birdhouse that I painted white and 2 little trees. So there you have it. That is my living room, dining room area, all ready for Christmas. So for the kitchen, I didn't do much. I'll just show you a quick little view here around the room. And then I've got an eating area over here, a shelf above it. So for the table itself, I added a red and white striped runner, a cutting board, and then a little pitcher full of candy canes. And then over here in the corner, I added a cute little tree in a basket. And then from the shelf, I hung some stockings, a little house and a little star. And above the shelf, I hung a Christmas sign. And then I added some bottle brush trees, some candle jars, and then some greenery. I used faux greenery. This is the faux stuff. And then I added the real stuff underneath. And I think the whole thing together turned out really pretty. So I really like this little area over here. It's like my favorite area. And then moving on into the kitchen part, this is where it gets tricky because the sunlight is really coming in. In the window I have a vase filled with greenery and then a little Christmas pick. And then I have these little deer, which I love these little vintage deers. Aren't they cute? And I put some fake snow down, some little Christmas bulbs that are vintage, and then some greenery sprigs, and then I have the whole thing resting on a little red and white towel. And then under the sink, or over here, I have my vintage inspired tea towel. I think this is from Williams-Sonoma. I found it at the thrift store. And I just think it's so cute. It's a little snowman. It's got a very vintage vibe. And of course it's like red and white, so that's awesome. And then over here in the corner, I have a cutting board placed with some Christmas glasses that I like to get out this time of year. And it's kind of nice just to have them sitting out like this so we can just grab them when we need them. So that's fun. And then over here, a little something. I added some straws, some peppermint sticks, and then a jar of hot cocoa mix, which looks like the kids have been making very good use of. Gonna have to get that filled up. So basically that's the kitchen. Oh, I forgot one little section over here. I also have over here a little something. I found this little reindeer set and sleigh at the thrift store, so I added some bottle brush trees, and I think it looks cute underneath my lamp, so that's kind of cutesy. So that is basically the kitchen. I'll give you another view here. Oh, the lighting is terrible. There we go. And there's my Christmas kitchen. Not a whole lot, but just enough to give it a little festive flair. And the last room that I added some Christmas touches to is my bedroom. On the bed I have layered a white duvet cover, a red and white quilt, and then a furry throw blanket, some pillows, another red and white pillow, and then a whole bunch of white pillows. And then above the bed on the headboard is where I added some greenery, some stars, I hung a mirror, and then I added some battery operated lights that look like mercury glass. So I have my mercury glass votives, some bottle brush trees, a vintage mirror, tree clippings, and then a star that I made a while back. So I really like how it turned out. I think it's really pretty. Super simple look, but very pretty. And on my bedside table, I just have a little star and a little candle. That's it. I like to keep mine pretty clear. And then on my husband's side of the bed, I have a little book page tree that I made a couple of years ago in a white urn. Then a little glass jar for his cough drops, a little candle holder, and then I added a little tea towel with a red stripe to give a little extra pop of red. So there you go. There is my winter bedroom. So that, folks, is the end of the tour. I hope you enjoyed it. I will have more photos and bigger write-up of everything on my blog, so that will be linked in the description box below if you're at all interested in looking at some more pretty pictures of everything. Thanks so much for stopping by today. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.